Yeah, today we're working on high wind stuff. I have to drag myself out of a pit of lack of productivity on high winds because the playtest has been out and we are getting feedback and we are trying to expand it. So we're working on hideouts, and I am specifically working on a system for oh yeah, check out high winds right there. Hit the follow button. I'm specifically working on a system for heat is what we're referring to it as right now. TBD if that'll be the final name. But essentially just like as you pick up and move and unload cargo, adding some stakes to that, making it risky. So I'll explain a little bit about what the goals are. I've got a little design doc that I'm working on for it that we'll do on stream, get the ideas out of my head and onto paper. But essentially higher value cargo has the chance of generating more heat, and heat has the chance to be modified by player actions, and then acted upon when they want to do something with that cargo. So that's what we're working on today. I think we might work on some video scripts or something like that. You have 0 of those things. Let me just make sure that all my stuff is squared away before I share my screen. Turn off screen share. Yeah, okay, good. Don't have anything that I have not responded to yet. Got a couple things in flight that I do need to pay attention to today. On my way? Hell yeah, I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. Or some other time. You know? No, we're good. I don't have anything pending. I have an RPG night in person tomorrow, and we're trying to fill a seat. And I just wanted to make sure that everything was good there, but it's good so far. Work classes all week, tiring and sleepy, exams on paper, and in December, and the class is only 1 week. So all that knowledge will be replaced by CS smoke lineups. Yeah, why don't they give you the class closer to the date? Or the test closer to the class? Either or is a fine option. Okay, I think we're good to share our screen. It's nothing exciting, it's a Google Doc. But I do have dark mode on, so don't worry about being flashbanged. I'm sorry I was late. We were talking shit about you not being here, so you should feel sorry. Okay, so this is the high winds heat system. Name TBD. Heat's fine for now. Overview. The heat system should allow players to take on cargo with some... should allow players to feel the risk of smuggling in their piracy adventures. And by giving them a combination of public and private information to assess thrill of smuggling, the risk of taking on a particular cargo. Christy, I'm sorry. If I could give you a streak back, I would. I'll give you a beer if that's, you know, almost as good as a streak. It's really good to see you, Christy. I hope you're doing well. The exam is quarterly. It sucks, but if I pass, I get a raise. Hell yeah. Raises are good. Each system should allow players to feel the thrill of smuggling in their piracy adventures by giving them a combination of public information and unknown variables to assess the risk of taking on a particular cargo or job. The goals of the piracy system. 1. Add tension encounters with passing ships, port checks. Give players agency over how they manage the jobs they take. We also want this to act as a sink to spend wealth and time on. Can you, Ross? That sounds like cheating. You have to be there. I think that merging it with the wanted system would make the most sense, Hook, and I want to make it kind of modular so people can extend or retract it. to be as encompassing as they want. So like, for example, I do think that some aspect of the heat/wanted system should interact with the hideout system as well. Like, okay, you brought a lot of heat back to your home port. Now people are not only looking for you, but like the people that you're harboring in your hideout and things like that as well. Got a message about it the other day. No, I think it's the right thing to do. I was never like an achievement hunter or like a streak keeper on Snapchat or anything like that. But for people whom it does matter to, it's good to give them some kind of grace, I think. Should act as a sink to spend wealth and time on, making the resources you carry matter more. So we want to add tension. We want to give players agency over how they manage their jobs. We want to act as a way to spend time and wealth, making the resources you carry matter more. And I wanted to bring in an element of unknown to player decisions, so to prevent min-maxing jobs. Those are like the 4 things. So what are the core tenets? 1, it has to be dynamic. And what that means is the heat value has to be adjustable through player action, e.g. delivering in broad daylight should carry more risk than at night in a secret port, or spending resources to improve the ship with something cargo hiding equipment should make the job easier. It should be obfuscated, but not unknowable. Highest I've ever seen is a 9. Christy had a 4, and that was impressive. Harry was up to like, what was it, Harry? In like the 20s before I broke his streak. He's back up to double digits now. He just hit a fat 10er on us, so that's cool. Half listening, half work meeting. That's okay. I'm going to send this to you when I'm done with it, so even if you don't catch it live, it'll be in your Discord soon. In the 30s, that's right. Yeah. It's a good streak. By combining public and private information, the heat system brings a sense of tension to adventures carrying illicit cargo. I love you, Google. There we go. Should remain attractive to rules light players. Absolutely. I don't think that it's going to be... yeah. Should maintain rules light balance. This system is easy. Maintains D6 dice pool. Is well integrated, I should say. Maintains a D6 dice pool. And simple to understand. Modifiers add or subtract 1 from heat value at a time. No complex math. This should be modular. Heat should be modular, so players can choose to implement it into things like wanted or hideout, but don't have to if they want their game to remain simple. Be dynamic, it should be obfuscated, it should be rules light. What are some other core tenets of a heat system? It should feel piratey. And this is the Sky Pirates game. So doing things like piratey actions like parlay or deception should have an impact. Knowledge of the workings of authority and etiquette should change how heat interactions are handled. All of this is pre-work to justify what comes next, which is a system I've already built in my head, but it'd feel very incomplete if I just wrote down this is how it should work and then send it over to Hook. So this is the core tenets. We want to add a system to High Winds that says if you're smuggling cargo, there should be risk there. Because right now we don't have anything formal for that. And the playtest adventure, if you look at it, is solely going and getting illicit cargo. It has nothing to do with what you've done with it once you take it. So, for people who play beyond the playtest material and want to actually do some smuggling for longer campaigns and things like that, we want to make it so that there is some risk to actually picking up cargo, right? And not just a set risk. So not, if I kidnap a diplomat and hide him in my cargo hold, that should carry a lot more weight and danger than like a case of illicit beer, right? So the system that I've built, which we'll get to describing after we finish this one page right here. I'll do a page of pre-work and then a page of how it works. Absolutely, Hook. I 100% agree. And that's where it can tie in with the wanted system. That's why I think we should take this and extend out the wanted system. I have mainly focused on the cargo half of it. So we should take that and expand it out into the actions and then also hideout. I think your hideout, the bigger and more elaborate it gets, should also generate heat and stuff like that. So I think there's probably 3 facets to this system. And I should High Winds cargo heat system. So we can take this as like a framework and then expand it out to like, because right now the way that it's built is it's integrated at point of pickup, at boardings, and at point of drop off. And like there needs to be kind of this persistent lingering tension in the background where like even if you're not doing one of those things, like your heat can come back to bite you, right? This is cool as fuck. This is game design, baby. This is an idea that came to me during our last session that I've been milling over in my head and need to get out on paper before it loses its luster. What are some of the other tenets of this system? So it should be dynamic, it should be obfuscated, it should be rules light, it should feel piratey, and it should feel fair. Don't, so telegraph to players when an action will impact their heat. Make clear the cost up front. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Harry, is like, so for example, in my campaign, the players want to build a warehouse where they can manufacture illicit medication, not like tainted or poison medication, but just like outside of the realm of the Armada. They essentially want to like Robin Hood the technology from the Armada, take these mushrooms that they've stolen from this research base, propagate them, and then give the medicine to the people for free or cheap, and undercut the Armada's like corner on the market. So like that kind of thing should have risk, right? The Armada is going to want to shut that down. So as they get those operations spun up and as it starts spilling out, the heat essentially evolved out of the need for them to take actions to legitimize their operation or thwart counter operations by like developing technology, spending resources, etc. to make it more viable. Make clear the cost up front to modify heat downwards. And it should invoke agency. So the GM should not be inventing ways to raise or lower heat. The ideas should come from the players. or the GM should not solely be inventing ways to raise or heat. The idea should be collaborative with the players. Is a better way to put that. Medication. Yeah, I don't know if anyone here has seen the HBO show Common Side Effects. But if you ever played the High Winds playtest adventure, I was definitely watching Common Side Effects when I wrote it, so. A lot of overlap there. Heavy inspiration, as they say. It's about a guy who finds a mushroom in Peru that can cure almost all illness or disease, and he brings it back to America. And the DEA and the FDA and pharmaceutical companies are all like vying to get it from him, and he just wants to distribute it out of the goodness of his heart. And that's where One Last Job came from. So, you know, there are cathedrals everywhere if you have the eyes to see it. Okay, this is a page here. Let's do mechanics. I don't know why that didn't turn into a heading. Okay. So there's a couple of aspects of the way that this works, and they integrate with each other. So there's a tiered system to actions that you take. And this is where I think we can expand it out into not just cargo, but actions. So essentially, actions and cargo are tiered. What does that mean? What does it mean, brother? Whoops. Not everything you do has equal consequence. Kidnapping a admiral is more risky than smuggling a crate of unlicensed beer. So assign the job cargo action a heat value. Items are tier 1 to 3 at this point. Yeah. That's the highest tiered thing that I've come up with thus far. But I totally think that it is conceivable, right, to like, these tiers shouldn't be capped at something. I can see like a blowing up an Armada outpost being like a tier 5 or even a tier 6 action, right? Or like stealing the crown jewels of the Armada being like a tier 5 piece of cargo, tier 6 piece of cargo. But at the moment, they run the gamut. Let me go get my notes, in fact. I have physical notes that I took about this, and I'll give you some examples of different tiers of items. So I gave my players the choice of 3 jobs. A tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3 job. And then they also have some tier 3 cargo from their initial mushroom hauling thing. So, for example, taking some fruit and honey that hasn't been authorized by like the equivalent of the FDA in our world. Like raw, unfiltered honey, not for human consumption. Tier 1 cargo. It's very small, very low in wealth value. It's very low heat. Tier 2 was some small arms, a crate of pistols that wasn't authorized to be sold by the Armada. And then tier 3 were some Armada pressing insignias to forge Armada documents. And then their mushrooms are also tier 3. So essentially the way that I have this working is currently 1 through 3, capped at maybe 5 or 6. So you assign the job a cargo or heat tier, and then roll X d6, where X equals the tier of the cargo. So like or the tier of the heat generator. So e.g. a tier 2 action cargo would generate 2d6 heat. And be worth 2d6 wealth. Reveal to the players the tier before they take the job or action. If they choose to pursue, then reveal the wealth roll, but not the heat roll. So essentially, they don't know how high the heat is. They know that it's somewhere between, in this case, 2 and 12, and it's going to average somewhere in the 7 range, because if we look at a dice probability calculator, output 2d6. This is very, can I get this in like a higher contrast? No, okay, we'll just zoom way in. So 2d6 follows a pretty normal bell curve. There is a very high chance of rolling between 6 and 8, and a greater than 50% chance that you're going to roll, you know, below 7 or above 7, with 7% sitting right at about 15% chance, or 7 sitting at right at about 50% chance. So the more dice you add, so like the higher tier, for example, the flatter this curve gets. So there is a high chance that it'll be between 8 and 13, but it could range anywhere from between 3 and 18. So the hidden aspect here is that they know how many dice you are rolling, and you will reveal the wealth to them. So let me grab some d6s. I think I have some nearby. I usually do. What are my Candela Obscura d6s? Let's run some examples. Oh, Candela Obscura. Thank you for your cool dice. They're very cool. They're all patinaed coppery d6s. So, bust out some d6s here. So heat isn't a direct... Heat is kind of we wanted, or I wanted it, and Hook may have pushbacks on this when he reviews the doc, but he's here for it, so I'm sure if he had major concerns, he would say something. But I wanted it to not just be a set number per tier for a couple reasons. One, because the unknown factor drives tension with your players. So yeah, our heat could be as low as 3, could be as high as 18, and is probably somewhere in between, is a thing where they're going to have to make trade-offs on how much they want to dump into lowering this number they're unfamiliar with to get to a workable state, a state where they're comfortable taking on the risk. The other part, though, is because take 2 people committing the same crime. Let's say that 2 people mug somebody. The amount of chance of them getting caught and the consequences are going to vary a lot from day to day, right? Like, what time of day did they do it? Who did they rob? What past infractions do they have against them? All of these things factor into where, like, no crime, even done in, like, the same city, if it's a big city, is going to have the same consequence, even if it's the same severity. So to capture things like reputation, attention, aggressiveness of response, all of this is rolled up in a roll that has statistical normalcy and bounds, but leaves some unknowns. So let's say you take a tier 2 cargo. That's the most common kind of cargo. You know, like small arms, a smuggling job for someone on lamb. It's not nothing, but it's not super risky. And you're rolling heat for it, which the players don't know. As a DM, you do know. So you roll. In this case, I got a 9. Slightly above average. It's a pretty risky job. What the players do know is the wealth value. So I roll and I got an 8. So they know, hey, this job could be anywhere between a 2 and a 12. It's probably between a 7 and a 9. And it's worth $8, which is pretty, or it's probably between a 6 and an 8. And it's worth $8, which is pretty good. We're going to take this because that 8 wealth offsets the risk of the heat. But we don't want to deal with the potential of a 12 or an 11 heat. So we're going to spend, let's say, a week prepping our ship and 2 wealth to install a false bottom and get some falsified paperwork and buy off a port guard. And that's going to lower the heat that they don't know by 3 points because they spent 3 resources, 1 week and 2 wealth, lowering it. So now it's a heat 6 job, but it's still worth that 8 wealth. But because they dumped 2 wealth in, it's actually kind of worth 6 wealth now, right? They're going to come out ahead 6. So this is kind of the push and pull that I want to create with the unknown using this system, is it's never hard. 1 resource adjusts your heat by 1 up or down. There's not a lot of math. And it's never a fully certain thing. You might spend a bunch of resources bringing down something that only had like a heat factor of 4 or 5. But there's always this chance of getting caught. So the other tenant is and we'll throw this up here in the core tenets. It should feel piratey, it should feel fair. There should always be some risk. Never lower the heat value below the tier of the action. So basically the way that this works is I roll for heat front. So let's say I rolled a 5 in this case. No, I rolled a 10 because that's a 6, not a 1. So when they take this cargo on, they're now sitting on a heat of 10. Let's say this is just the 1 piece of cargo they have. When they get boarded, or when they attempt to offload the cargo, the appropriate authority or investigator, so whether they get boarded by other more bloodthirsty pirates, or whether they get boarded by an armada recon vessel, or if they're trying to sneak it past an armada port investigator, will also make a tier D6 roll. So I'll make a 2d6 roll. And if I roll at or below their heat value, then they are caught. So I rolled an 8, their heat was 10, they would have been caught. And now that changes the course of the interaction. So this is a roll low system to try to beat the heat. Or a roll high system, I'm sorry, to try to beat the heat. You want to try and get over your heat value when you make your check. And so they up until the point where they roll the dice. Hey, Taters. Roll 1d6 for how your day is going to go tomorrow. It's a 5, Taters. That's a pretty fucking solid day. So essentially what... sorry, I'm being texted. What would the purpose be other than showing off? Oh, my dad's talking to me about UFOs. So... essentially, you are sitting on this resource that you are unaware of, and up until the moment that you make the check, you don't know your chances of succeeding, which I think is pretty cool. All you know is what you have done to mitigate it. If they choose to pursue, reveal the wealth roll, but not the heat roll. The GM is responsible tracking the total heat of the party. Okay. Mechanic 2. Heat is not static. Why is this white and this gray? All white. There we go. Heat is not static. Heat can be modified up by taking risks. 1 at a time by taking risks. Rushing a job. Pushing through a secure port, or down 1 at a time by taking precautions, spending wealth on upgrading ships, countermeasures, forging docks, etc. Or spending time on securing safer routes, ports. To maintain rules light, beat points move up or down one at a time. Per open heat source. If carrying 2 cargo, 1 false bottom would lower each cargo's heat by 1. Okay. Good night, Harry. I'll catch you later. Have a good evening. Good luck with your test, your classes and your test. Okay. Action of the cargo tiered. Heat is not static. Heat is interacted with through authoritarian friction. When attempting to escape, sell, or bypass agents with more authority, be that weapons or diplomatic and bureaucratic authority, make a roll. Select all relevant cargo jobs actions and add their heat together. Then roll and their tiers together. Roll TD6 dice. If lower than cumulative heat, then the party is caught. And the fiction changes based on the capturing party, stakes, etc. Make the consequences proportional. If an armada ship captures what is happening here? Party who is smuggling an armada captive, the consequences will be worse than if pirates capture the same party. It's rare that all sources of heat interact with a party at once. Pirates don't care or even favor those who meddle with the armada. Gunrunners sympathize with other smugglers as long as they're not stepping on each other's turf, etc. Use GM judgment. Example of play. The anemone is a new smuggling operation who has never had a run-in with the Armada before. They have a base heat of 0. Pick up a tier 2 job, smuggling weaponry, and a tier 1 job, moving religious material into a secular kingdom. The DM rolls the following values. Weaponry. 2d6 equals 2 heat. That's great. And 5 wealth. Bibles. 1d6 equals... Oh, 1d6. I'm an idiot. 2 heat. And 5 wealth. So this does show that there's, again, this uncertainty, right? They think like, oh, we took the Bibles, that's an easy one. Well, it has the same amount of wealth and heat as the weaponry. So the DM reveals that they would get 5 wealth for the weapons and 5 for the Bibles. The party takes both, putting their current heat value at 4. They depart and run into a group of pirates. Blood... Oh, what are the blood pirates called? Are those blood pirates? I'm going to put blood pirates here as a placeholder. You'll know what I'm talking about. They run into a group of blood pirates. The blood pirates don't care about religion, and therefore the Bibles don't factor into any rolls. The party is safe if the roll is 3 or higher. The DM, however, players don't know that. DM rolls 2d6 for the weaponry. And gets a 9. Meaning the pirates are still still hostile, but not interested capturing the players, offering them the option to give up the weapons and live to see another day. They give up the weapons, lower their hidden heat value to a total of 2, but lose out on the wealth the weapons would have given. After limping into port, they decide to sell the Bibles to the local religious sect. When docking, the port authority requests to review their manifests. The GM once again rolls 2d6, or rolls 1 this time. That's right. This is a tier 1 cargo. This time, since the cargo is tier 1, The GM rolls 1d6 and gets a 4, higher than the heat of 2. Authority is distracted, swayed, or otherwise indifferent to the cargo, and the players make it on to offload their 5 wealth worth of goods. Yeah, I think this is it. I'm going to try to tighten it up to 2 pages, so let's do a little editing here. Heat system allows players to feel the thrill of smuggling, thrill of piracy, by giving them a combination of public information and unknown variables. That's the risk of taking an action. Goals, yes, are good. Responds to player action. I don't need... This can stay simple, because this is just going to hook, and he already understands the core principles. By combining public, tier, and private role information, this brings a sense of tension to carrying illicit cargo. The system is well integrated, maintains the D6 dice pool, and simple to understand. Heat should be modular, so players can choose to implement into things like Wanted or Hideout, but don't have to if they want their game to remain simple. It should feel piratey. Parody actions like parlay or deception. Okay, I love you, Google Docs. You're making me so happy that I'm using you right now. Okay. It should feel fair. Telegraph to players on an actual impact their heat. Make the costs up front to modify heat downwards. There should always be some risk. Never lower the heat value. Heat below the tier of the action, and it should evoke agency. Why do we have so much empty space here? I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna scream. You better watch it, baby. I'm gonna scream. Oh, it's because this is heading, so it still moves to its own page. Okay. Heat. We can simplify this. Heat is tiered. Not everything you do has equal consequence. Kidnapping an outlaw is more risky. Assign a heat tier. XD6, where X equals the tier of the heat. Reveal to the players the tier before they take the job or the action. They choose to pursue, then reveal the wealth roll, but not the heat roll. Heat is not static. It can be modified up or down. One at a time. Or maintain rules light. To stay rules light, heat should move up or down. Yeah, this is just repeating what the last thing said. Heat is interacted with through friction with authority. When attempting to escape cell or bypass agents with more authority, weapons or diplomatic and bureaucratic, DM selects all relevant cargo jobs or actions and adds their heat together and their tiers together. Roll d6 dice. If lower than the cumulative heat, then the party is caught, and the fiction changes. Make the consequences proportional. An Armada ship captures a party who is... I think this is good. I'm gonna send this to Hook. We did it, chat. I thought this was gonna take like 2 hours, but I knocked it out in an hour. So we're proud of it. Copy link. Anyone with the link can view it. I guess it didn't take as long because it's been folding in my head for a while. I just had to get it out on paper. But I'm still happy that we got it.